Hey YouTube, it's Brandon from VK Milling and Hardwoods here in really warm southeast Tennessee, and I know it's been quite a while. Uh, Sorry for that. I've got a ton of videos, but I've just not been able to have the time or the willpower to sit down and edit them and post them up. But oh, my sinuses are killing me. I'm sorry. Ah. So I just wanted to kind of check in today and show you the kinds of things that go on in my life and how it's never as simple as come in, start the saw up, put a log on it, and start cutting. So ooh, that's a nice truck full of logs there. So I come in this morning, I get everything set up in the office, and I get a couple of phone calls, two customers that are placing orders that would like to have them today if possible. It's like, great, I can bust that out while I finish working on this semi truck load of 8x8s that I've got to finish. All right, well, I'll get out there and pull some logs and get to cutting. So I go out and I start the forklift up, let it warm up, start the sawmill up, let it warm up for a little bit, and walk out there and look at the pile and say, all right, well, I've got to move, 4 or 5 logs to get to the one that I need, that kind of stuff, no problem. Go back to the forklift, I turn around and look, and lo and behold, you can see it down there, tire's flat. Okay, well, I'll just go charge up the air compressor and we'll fill up the tire and see if it holds pressure for the day. And if it does, great. If it doesn't, well, then we'll have to put a new tube in it. So I come in here and I start the air compressor up and it runs for 20 minutes. I'm like, why hasn't it shut off yet? It should have already shut off. Come over and take a look at it, and it's just running and running and running. It's like 45 psi, and it should be at like 120 psi. I'm like, okay, what's going on? So I pulled the top cover off of it, and part one is, you look down in here, I don't know if you can really see that. That's the commutator that lives down in there, and that's the brush that goes in it. This thing's throwing sparks everywhere, so the brushes need to be replaced in that. But fine, that's not what's causing the lack of pressure. So then I start looking at everything else, and of course this is a very simple mechanism. You have a motor that, let me get down here. You have a motor that spins right here. This is belt driven. You have a motor that spins, it turns a crankshaft here. I don't know if you can actually see that. Let's do it here. So, get down there. It turns that crankshaft. On the end of that crankshaft is a piston with a gasket on it. And as that piston pushes up, it compresses the air, and it pushes it through a tube into the tank. When it cycles back, it draws air in, then compresses the air, and pushes it back into the tank through this valve assembly right here. Now, out of that valve assembly, I'll show you right here, comes a tube, runs out here, and then goes into the tank. And that's called the air discharge tube. It discharges the air from the piston cylinder into the tank. And that's what builds your pressure. It's like, well, everything else is running fine. I don't feel any crazy leakages from the valve or anything. Let me just make sure that the discharge tube is actually seated in there properly. So I go to grab the discharge tube, and wouldn't you know it, it's now in 2 pieces. Look at that. Now that won't hold any air, at least not at the pressure I want it to. So now I'm stuck because I need the air compressor to fill up the tire so that I can go do my milling for the day. But the air compressor's not working. And that means that I've got to try to find that tube somewhere. I've already looked Home Depot, Lowe's, Global Supply, Amazon, eBay, etc. All the, usual suspects. The soonest I could possibly get one would be like next Friday. So, I'm limited on my options there. So instead of finishing, a 10,000 board foot order for one customer and then knocking out 2 400 board foot orders for 2 other customers today, I got to go try to find that air compressor hose and see if I can get that tire charged up. The only other option that I have is in my wife's car, we've got a portable tire inflator that I keep in her car in case she gets a flat tire, because she was getting a string of them for a while. And that's in her trunk, but it takes like 5 minutes to get it to 35 psi or 32 psi in the tire. The problem is that these tires, these are 2 new ones that somebody dropped off here to get rid of, that are far and away better than the ones that I have. So those are going to go on to the forklift after I get all this crap done. But those hold 65 psi is what I run them at. They can hold up to 90. So yeah, we'll see what happens.